can't make no money in this because you're traveling as many miles unloaded as you're loaded. So therefore, you're stupid and I know more than you do.
Hey, this is Sean with Weekend Truckin', and in today's video, we're gonna dive into the top 3 reasons why I would choose RV transport over all other trucking professions. Let's go. Okay, so we are just getting back into Iowa from dropping in yet another Wheat Ridge run. I think this is maybe 11 straight weeks in a row that it's been Wheat Ridge, with one exception being a Colorado Springs. But why I choose RV transport over, we'll say, the Tow Piglet Hotshotting, the Southern Georgia Hotshot turned semi-driver, same thing, Hotshot Dave turned trucker, semi-drivers, and then just, you know, overall the cummins drivers. Like, why would I choose RV transport over all of them? Let's dive in. With saving the best for last, the first one would have to be no deadlines. And essentially what I mean by that is when you book a load, there's no specific time or date that you have to get it back there. Now, if you sit on it and you have it at your house for, you know, a week, dispatch is probably going to call you and say, hey, Sean, where are you at on delivering this? In very rare occasions do you have a deadline, and that is when it's a hot, already sold unit that needs to get to the dealership. But otherwise, like my normal routine, go pick up a load, come back home, sit Wednesday night, leave Thursday, and then I drop on either Thursday or Friday, typically. But like this last trip that I was just on, decided to stop in Omaha. We went to the Omaha Zoo, just had a little family vacation with the little ones. The older one was at her mom's, and just had a heck of a time. So there's no pressure that you just have to go, go, go. You go as hard as you want to. Before we dive in to number 2, we gotta get some new shoes for this rig. Stick around and we'll see how much it costs.
A few moments later.
$1,600 later, and we have new tires for the rig on the back. I went with an all-position tire, more so because I'll get better fuel economy, and then that's what was on it to begin with, since I've had it. And yeah, I don't get the best traction with it. There's been a few times just when it was snowing where you could feel a loss of traction. And if I end up going through this upcoming winter season where it just seems, we'll say, unsafe, then what I'll end up doing is just, well, I guess dropping another 1,600-ish, and I will get some proper drive tires for those months of the year. But ultimately, as I was talking to the guy, after he had asked, you know, hey, okay, what are you driving? What are you hauling? He had made it sound like I'm going to get several 100,000 miles off of those tires. They're going to wear nice and evenly. My thoughts are it'll probably last the life of the rig, you know? So a lot more pricier than, you know, just doing single poles and you have a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton. But the life that you're going to get out of these bigger tires, I think Fair Winds had talked about when he maybe went up to 19s or so, just the extra life that you get from, you know, a bigger, more heavy duty tire. I'll pay more up front, but I bet if we did the math on, you know, cost per mile, this versus, you know, the number of tires that I would have went through with the Ford, or that you may go through with a pickup truck, this may actually be a more profitable setup because, you know, it's meant for hauling things a lot heavier than a little camper on top and pulling one behind, you know? But anyways, what is that second item? And it comes down to, you know, something you have to deal with all of the time, regardless of what line of professional driving you're in. And it's the load board, with also taking into consideration loading and unloading. I really enjoy watching other YouTubers that are, whether they're in Hotshot, whether they're in full-on semi, you know, whatever. One of their main issues is always coordinating loading times, unloading times, waiting for a crane to come get something off of your trailer. When it comes to RV transport, it's the simplest thing ever. If you're doing single poles, you know, you click on there what load you want, typically within an hour, depending on what time of the day it is. You're getting an email with the BOL, everything's taken care of. When you get that email, just like I showed in my last video, I'll put a card here. You get half of the payment up front, depending on the company you run for, and then you're good to go pick it up. Now, sometimes you run into the issue of they put a camper or unit on the load board and it hasn't actually left the manufacturer. So sometimes, I've never had it happen to me, but you have to wait until the yard guys pull it into the yard from the dealership. But in terms of loading, unloading, it's pretty simple to load up, especially if you're in single poles, to just go hook onto either a fifth wheel or a bumper pole. I can get, with the haul and tow setup, I can get it loaded if things are just going good within under 45 minutes, like if I'm kicking butt. And that's becoming more average, more routine. If I had a better setup, it'd be even faster, but I don't. I have to waste several minutes here, several minutes here, you know, just with the inefficient rig that I have. But when it comes to unloading, this last trip, I just unloaded in 24 minutes. So then it's just waiting for the check-in person to get done with the check-in process. Again, submit your paperwork, you're getting paid. You don't have to worry about rate con stuff, any of that extra admin work. It's just super easy, super simple. You're not dealing with a broker. So like when I do back hauls with cars, you know, you got to call up the broker. You don't have to negotiate with them, but you're trying to up the price or this or that, or you get something pushed over and the price is different. And you're like, you said it was going to be this. You know, it's more of a hassle. It's more time. It's more of a nuisance than anything, you know? So RV transport, super simple when it comes to load board and then loading, unloading. You can't beat it. Okay, the third, final one, the biggest, most important reason why, if I had to choose any professional driving realm or gig, why I would choose RV transport over everything else. What I've discovered just from being in it, I don't know what, maybe 9 months now, is there is more money with more home time to be had. I think every week I have 60-ish hours in between my final drop, get home, and then before I leave again, you know, where I see a lot of these guys, and even guys in RV transport too, because maybe that's more of the lifestyle that you want, where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna run hard and be gone all the time. But you know, people are gone burning their 70-hour clock, doing resets wherever, like letting load boards take them across the country and this and that, where yeah, I don't do that. So I'm on pace with the current setup to bring in just over $100,000 with 400, technically it's like 405-ish a week of that going to my maintenance account. And then I typically deposit $1,700 that stays in my personal account to pay all bills, yada yada, on a weekly basis. So that's taking home over $80K with only being on the road 3.5 days a week, while having over $20,000 on an annual basis set aside into a maintenance account for issues, or like the tires today, you know, that came out of my maintenance account for the $1,600. And part of it with being just, you know, having a business already, so I'm at the gym, I'm gonna work on getting our computer for our tanning system up and going. Who knows what happened, technology. But having very little, not only just overhead, but admin work in terms of, you know, being an owner operator that's leased on to a company, so to speak, in the RV transport space, there's virtually nothing you have to worry about other than your own personal finances. And when you look at it from just a profitability standpoint, when you're in the single poles and you have a pickup truck, you hear all the truckers, oh, you can't make no money in this because you're traveling as many miles unloaded as you are loaded, so therefore you're stupid and I know more than you do. But that guy's driving for 50 to 70 cents a mile as a company driver, or he's got a $3,000 semi payment and he's got a huge list of overhead expenses on a monthly basis, where that just isn't the case with how things are in RV transport. And I get it, there's probably some other spaces within driving, within, you know, being a professional driver or a commercial driver, where it's a similar setup where, you know, really small overhead, but then it comes back to that amount of time being back home. So, you know, your commitment is one run a month. You're not going to just do that unless you're truly just kind of part-timing until, you know, the right season happens in your life to where you're going to do it a little more full-time. But I don't have somebody down my throat trying to get me to take this, take that, do this. I get to choose what I dispatch on, what I don't dispatch on, and that's it. You know, I know some of the smaller RV transport companies, it's different. You're forced dispatched. That would probably be a deal breaker for me, just given the amount of flexibility that I need in terms of still being back home, taking care of the gym business, you know, like being able to go to swimming lessons on Mondays with my son and just being present, you know? So my top 3 reasons why I would choose RV transport over any other trucking gig: no deadlines, an easy to use load board, and loading and unloading are the simplest things ever, and the amount of money that you make with a lot of home time as well. So maybe you disagree with me, I don't know. If so, throw that shade down in the comments. I think it just comes down to knowing what you want to get out of a particular endeavor and then creating the plan to make that work and then executing, obviously. But you know, that's how you make something become successful. Obviously, before that, a prerequisite is you have to have a passion for it. You have to want to do it, to stick with it and stick it out, because you're going to face adversity along whatever journey you're on. And, you know, if you're not in it for the right reasons, then, well, when those little speed bumps happen, it derails you and, you know, you're on to something else and you have a bad taste in your mouth with that endeavor. So, yeah, there you have it. Top 3 reasons: like, subscribe, share. And don't forget, when we hit that 3K mark, somebody's getting that DJI Mavic Mini. So that's all I got for you. I hope this was helpful, maybe somewhat insightful, and stay tuned until the next video.